Sometimes Forex trading is a wild and woolly place to be. That's why Hugh's here, to pose your questions to Walter, the naked Forex guy. Hugh's got questions and Walter's got the answers. Here at the Truth About FX podcast.
Hey Walter, is there any way to profit from gaps on the charts?
Absolutely. We look at these every week. In the show notes below, you'll see the link to the webinar, that free webinar that I do every week. And we look at these, so it's pretty simple. There are many different ways to do it. The biggest question you have to ask yourself is, when you trade these gaps, is the gap in alignment with the overall recent move of this market? So for example, if the market is going up, like let's say the euro dollar is going up, and then you see a gap down, so when that gap happens, you expect the market to go up to close that gap. That's kind of makes a lot of sense to people. But when you see the market going up, let's say the euro's going up, and then on Sunday it gaps open up, so it has to actually retrace and fall down to close that gap. Those are the sorts of questions you have to ask yourself. The big questions here are going to be, is it with the overall movement of the market? It could be a sideways market, so it doesn't matter. But if the market's been going up, are you getting that gap down so that it has to keep going to close it, or is it a counter trend gap? And then the other thing to ask yourself is, how big is this gap? I don't even look at them unless they're at least 25 pips. If they're fewer than 25 pips, it's off the board for me. So they're many different strategies. You can also trade them after they've closed. So there are many different ways to trade them. You don't have to do it right when they appear. You can trade them when they close. There's lots of things you can do there. And I would encourage you, if this is something that interests you, to sign up for the free webinar in the link below, and you can come and see how we do it. But you'll get the ebooks and all that, even if you can't make the webinar. Sometimes it's difficult for people in Europe to come because it's kind of really late for them. But yeah, so there are definitely many different ways to do it. Some people do crazy things, like they use these wild stop losses that are really far away and stuff like that. So that can kind of hurt when they don't work out. But yeah, there are many different ways to profit from the gaps. You just have to make sure that you keep using the same time frame, the same closing time on your charts, and do that. So yeah, so I would encourage people to come on into the webinar if that's something that interests you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you use any like alert indicators to tell you about gaps?
I don't. Do you? I mean, I know. I'm sure they're out there. I just basically see. For me, the market opens Monday morning, and so all I do is because I have the webinar, I'll usually just sit down 20 minutes before the webinar and have a look and see. And usually you'll have things like, if the euro has a gap, then obviously the euro kiwi, the euro pound, the euro yen, they probably all have gaps too, and that sort of thing. So they kind of go in groups. Yeah, but I don't use any alerts. Do you use anything like that?
No, I don't use anything like that. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I'm sure they're out there. It's a good question. I just don't do it since I'm going to be at the webinar anyway.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Walter.
Thank you.